Hello and welcome back, everyone. In our last quick introduction, we learned what Pixel Composer is, what the software is used for, and we learned about what a node is, all without examples, just the basic theory. In this tutorial, what we're going to do is to go over the panels and the interface. That's it. We're not going to be creating any super complicated stuff. We're not going to be talking about nodes at all. This lesson is just for the UI. Now, when you open a Pixel Composer, you will first see a splash screen. This splash screen, if for some reason you've clicked away and this is the first time you're using the software, it becomes very frustrating trying to find out where that splash screen is because it's like a mini guide and it's the first thing you actually come across when you open the software, and it's actually designed to help you. So in case you click away and don't find it, just go to File and go to Splash Screen. So click away, go to File, Splash Screen. Again, you click away, go to File, Splash Screen. That's the splash screen. And the way the splash screen is designed is if you look over to the left here where we have the web browser, if you're connected, you'll see a link to the Discord server and a second link. I'm not connected right now, so it's blank. But here you have a set of welcome files that is aimed to teach you and show you what the software does. If we scroll down a little bit, we'll actually see a list, a host of examples on how nodes are chained together to create all these effects you can see. So you can see a box explode, cogwheels, cyberframe. These are actually awesome, smart, and cool. And they give you an idea of what you can create with the software. So again, this splash screen just helps to, bridge that little gap, that knowledge gap. In case you don't have internet or can't really research videos, you can just use these to learn how the software works. We'll be doing that in future videos, but this video is just to make you comfortable with the user interface to find out where things are. So with that being said, if you need the splash screen back, you can always, click away like that. Just close the settings, click away, and you can use the file splash screen to see that splash screen come back. And you can always turn it off, but that's not what we're doing here. So when you open up Pixel Composer, you might actually have this view or you might have a separate view. Now, if this view is different from yours, if you're not seeing this area, the timeline area, or this area, all you need to do is to drag over here to the right, drag this till you go to vertical. I'm using the vertical window setup. So this is how it looks like. If I change this to drawing, it'll change the view. So make sure you're on vertical so we're all on the same view. Now, this view here with the grids, that's the graph panel. It's the view with the grids, and the grids is a graph. And these windows are called panels in Pixel Composer. Very simple, straightforward. We have panels here. And this is our center view. This large area here is our panel view. This large one with the grids, that's your panel view. Think about it like your desk. You can place things on your desk. Your laptop, your phone, your charger, your mouse. This is your workspace. This is where you edit stuff. So that's the graph panel. If you want to move around the graph panel, hold your middle mouse button and you can move around, right? We're just moving left and right, up and down, left and right, up and down. That's all we're doing. Nothing complicated. We're not creating a super VFX that's going to make a ghost appear and disappear. We're not doing anything like that. So we're just holding the middle mouse button and just panning around, trying to get a feel of Pixel Composer. Because remember, we don't know what the software does. We have no idea how it works. So we're just trying to understand the interface. So if I'm going to be creating nodes and working with nodes, this is the place where the magic happens. So I'm going to have a lot of these nodes here, chain them, connect them. This is the graph panel. And basically, this is where we edit stuff. So on the left of the graph panel, if I click on that, you can see this orange looking glowy thingy here. So it tells me which panel I'm on. So I'm on the graph panel. Now I'm on the preview panel. Now in the preview panel, you can view your node content here. So node contents are going to appear when we have the preview panel. And don't worry, we're going to drop in a simple sample node to check these things, but let's get the core concept and idea of the UI first. So the preview panel would allow you to preview the node content, right? So now we have a very important panel here, and this is the inspector node properties, right? So this is the inspector, and you check the node properties here. So if we have a node and the node has some properties, we can actually see the inspector here. Now we don't have anything, but we can still see some properties here on the inspector. Now this is the project settings, the entire general project settings. You can find things here like the global layer and variables. This is going to be here because we don't have a node we're selecting. The inspector is showing us the properties for this project. So the inspector is context sensitive. If I have a node and click on the node, the properties of that node will be exposed in the inspector, and that's where I can make changes. So we already have seen 3 panels. The graph panel, the one in the center, we can use our middle mouse to scroll in and out, and we can click our middle mouse and drag left and right. Then we have a preview panel so that we can preview our node contents. Then we have an inspector here where we can check the node properties, what the node is made of, the nits and base pieces, the bits and bolts, the mini simple parts. This is where we can see a lot of the properties of that node, like the width, the height, the color, the dimension, the connection, how many nodes does it have, how many nodes are going out, what junctions does it use. Everything will be in the inspector. And finally, at the bottom, we actually have a timeline, right? We can actually see a timeline. If we hit the space bar, the timeline is going to be playing. It's not playing anything because there's nothing there, but we have a timeline right here. And this timeline will be used for playing animations. So if you're simulating a node, you'll see the node being simulated over time. So with that being said, let's go over and open just one simple example. So go to File, click the splash screen, and open up any of these projects you find interesting. I really like the cyberframe because, hey, why not? It just looks interesting. So now let's take a quick look at what we just discussed right here. So we have a graph panel, and trust me, don't be worried about any gibberish you're seeing here. Let's just go straight to this. So we can move around like that. Oh, that's cool. So I'm holding the middle mouse button. I'm panning around, just dragging and grabbing this. I can zoom in. You can see how deep we can actually zoom in here. Right? Cool. So I'm not clicking any node right now. I'm not selecting any node. But let's look at this draw shape. Once I select draw shape, we can actually see the properties of draw shape here. We can see the name draw shape. We can see the properties and look at all these properties. So we have the output, transform, shape, and all these other properties. If we click on particle, we'll see the same thing. Because I'm clicking on this node, we can see a nice little green outline here that tells us, hey, you're actually viewing the particle. Now, if I double click on any node, we can actually see the node content. So that's what this window is for. We can see the node content over here. That's what this window is, our node content. We can zoom in with the mouse wheel and still grab and pan around. So if I click on particle, I can see particle. If I go over here to say solid, I can see solid. If I double click on solid. So we can see the preview of that node. I'm on solid. We can see the node content and we can see the node properties. Let's go ahead and do some fun here. Let's go ahead and change the color. And you can see what we're doing here. Right. Cool. That's totally awesome. So if we go over here and hit spacebar to play the animation, we can actually see everything going here. So if we change the screen to preview, we can actually see that we have some magic happening in our animation here. So let's set this back to vertical. We can see that like so, right? So we're setting up all these animations and we can actually see how that looks like right there. I'll just drag this over here. All right, so let's go ahead and check out another basic example. So bring up the splash screen and let's try this cogwheel 3D here. So if we hit the space bar, we can actually see we have an animated, cogwheel with these set of nodes all changed and connected through each other. And we can use that to actually see the output, final output here, right? So that's going to be it for this lesson. We're not creating anything, just to show you how the software works and how we have our panels. So on the left, we have our preview panel. This allows us to preview the node output or any of our nodes we double click on. We're going to see them on the preview panel. Then on the center, in the center here, this is our graph panel, and this is where we edit stuff and make, connections to connect any of these solid nodes. Then we have the inspector that gives us the values for every node. Then finally at the bottom, we have the animation that allows us to animate the nodes. Remember, we can always change these, the way it's all set up, by changing the panels right here at the top, like so. But like I said, I love leaving it in vertical because it's one of the best views that gives enough space that you can create your work. So in our next lesson, we're going to create very basic nodes as we learn more about Pixel Composer. See you guys in the next lesson.